What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, High PSI TV. My name is Jeff. If you haven't been here before, welcome to my shop. It is currently empty. There's nothing in here except a tool cart, a lawnmower, and a beer fridge. So I'm getting ready to go on vacation right now. This video should be coming out on Friday, so I'll actually be back in town already. But a couple of you guys have given me suggestions for videos what you'd like to see. And what I'm going to do is give you a little bit of a shop tour and go over the tools that I have here at the shop and what I keep here to help me work on stuff at the house, whether it be a lawnmower or a four-wheeler or one of my own personal cars. I don't keep a lot here. I keep a lot more at the shop that I work at, RPM Motorsports. But I have enough stuff here that I can get done what I need to. And if I don't have it here, I've got a 15-minute ride to the shop and I'll bring home what I need. So let's start with the tool cart. Okay, so this is a Cornwell Tools tool cart that I picked up used for like 400 bucks, I think. And it's pretty much full, and it's got everything that I need to use around here, not on a daily basis, but if I ever have to work on something, I have it here. So you can see I've just got a bunch of miscellaneous crap stacked up there, but we'll start in the top of the tool cart with sockets, and then we've got stuff on both sides here. So one thing that I've learned as a technician is swivel sockets are definitely your friend. They make it really easy to get into tight spaces, and then you don't have to use regular universal swivels there. So most cars nowadays are going to be metric, so most everything I have up here is metric. There are some standard sockets for doing like around the house projects, but you got 10 to 19 millimeter. And if you need to use something on a standard bolt, 19 millimeter would be 3/4, and then if you go down to 14 millimeter, that's 9/16, 13 is 1/2 inch, and so on and so forth. So these will work on standard bolts, just not very well, but if you need to use one, you can. Always deep and shallow sockets, as you can see. And then I've got some bigger sockets here too, and 7/8 is going to be most of your lug nuts nowadays. And you can see these are just cheap sockets. These are Duralast. That's from AutoZone. Most of my stuff in here is Craftsman. These are actually Cornwell, but they were on sale. So 1.25 inch, 24 millimeter. So just a good array of sockets. 1/4 inch drive, 3/8 drive, 12 millimeter 12 point. You Mustang guys will know what that's for. And then a couple spark plug sockets and a grouping of extensions. I also keep this little cheap electric impact here. This thing is really useful. It's about 100 bucks from Craftsman, and it's got a little chuck on the end of it that you can put screwdriver bits in. And then I have adapters for 3/8 drive sockets, and I also have one for 1/4 drive sockets as well. But this is really convenient. You don't have to have air to use it, and it's strong enough to do a lot of the stuff that I do around here. So next up, we have a selection of screwdrivers, flathead and Phillips, 3 of each. And these are the diamond tipped from Craftsman. And you want to have good screwdrivers. I do have some cheap screwdrivers, like this is a Stanley. These work, but they don't work really well. They're good at stripping out the heads of screws. So a good set of screwdrivers is a must. Next, we've got a couple nut drivers, a 1/4 inch and a 5/16. So these are good for hose clamps and small bolts if you have something small you're putting together. But 1/4 drive is small hose clamps, 5/16 big hose clamps. Something that I didn't have for a while was pry bars, and I just bought these last weekend because they were on sale. Craftsman pry bars, but what you'll notice is there's a solid cap on the back of these and no rubber handle. So you can actually hammer on these pry bars without breaking them. If you don't have that style of pry bar, your pry bars will end up looking like this. I made them into hammer pry bars. So anyway, we got 3 pry bars up here on this side that you can hammer on if need be. On this side, we have a selection of cheaper screwdrivers and then ratchets. So I actually have 3/4 drive ratchets over here and 2 3/8 drive ratchets. This guy right here is the one I use the most often because it's got a flex head on it. So you need to get into a tight spot at a little bit of an angle, you have the ability to do that. And again, Craftsman, not that expensive. And then something I use a lot is this cheap little trim panel tool. So this is good for doing all the push pins, Christmas trees and stuff like that, door handles and what have you. but I use this thing a lot. And again, this is just a cheap one. It's not name brand. I've had it for about 15 years and it still works great. Something else you should always have is a magnet, because you know when you drop something in an engine bay, it will never hit the ground. All right, moving on to the first drawer, we have wrenches. So they're separated, metric on one side, standard on another. And again, I have more metric than I do standard because most everything I work on nowadays is metric. But you can see these are all ratchet wrenches, and most of these are ratchet wrenches. The reason for that is getting into tight spots again, it's easier to be able to ratchet than it is to sit there and put the wrench on, lift it off, move it, and keep twisting. So ratchet wrenches are a good idea. Now these are straight. You can see they're not an angled head, and they're not reversible either. So you do have to flip them to go from forward to reverse, but the cheapest ones they make by Gear Wrench, so that's what I got. And also I have stubby gear wrenches in here as well. Good for getting into tight spots. I don't use these a lot, but when you need to get into a tight spot, they are great to have. So you can buy these all in a kit, standard metric, long and short, from Gear Wrench. And then something you should always have is multiple of your most common wrenches. So 3/4, 11/16, 9/16, 7/16, and 5/16. I have 2 of every one of those. And then you can see I've got standard metric wrenches here. Moving on to the next drawer, pliers and stuff. Now my plier selection at the house is really sad and really cheap, and I need to get a better set, but what I have works. So regular standard side cutters, needle nose, another set of side cutters, really cheap channel locks. Then you have these guys. So these are Craftsman. No, they're not. They're Southwire, cheap. But these kind of electric pliers I love because they have your strippers, your cutters, and all your different crimping areas in one set of pliers. These are good for butt connectors if you have to make quick repairs. I usually solder everything, but these are a nice solid pair of wire cutters to have. Then you can see we have some more miscellaneous stuff. A really cheap pair of snap ring pliers. These are like aggressive scissors. And then this guy, Craftsman oil filter wrench. And this is the kind that I use here at the house and at the shop for doing oil changes on everything that I have. It does destroy the filter when you take it off, but you're not trying to reuse it anyway, and these things will grip anything. You can see the teeth are real aggressive. And then just more miscellaneous stuff. We've got a pick set here, some razor blades, putty knife, a couple pair of vice grips. Nothing crazy in this drawer either. This is probably the more expensive drawer that I have, and this is all of my air tools and my one electric screwdriver. So this is made by Snap-on, and this is really cool. So you can put your quarter drive, socket driver in the end, screwdriver, but it's electric. There's no switch on it. It's just forward and back with the trigger. Rechargeable. This is the one that I used to use at the shop until they came out with a better one, so I bought that one. But this thing works really well, and it's really compact. And we've got everything from a good 3/8 impact, which I use more than anything in this whole toolbox. 1/2 inch impact. Got a 3/8 ratchet, another 3/8 ratchet, and then a selection of cheap grinders. So I've got a carbide bit in that one. This one normally has a cutoff wheel in it, but it broke. And then another one of my favorite tools, and this is a cheapie again. This thing's like $29, an air saw. And it does its job for 29 bucks, but it is definitely a cheap saw. It'll get caught up every once in a while, and you have to pull the blade out, put it back in, and start over again. But this thing is so cool for around the house projects because it gets into tight spaces and it will cut metal, it'll cut stainless, it'll cut aluminum, it'll cut wood, it'll do everything. So again, if you have an air compressor at the house, these are some things that I keep around that I will use often. I forgot about this guy. Little quarter drive ratchet too. Next drawer, we have our drill and our drill bit set. Now this is not my only drill bit set. you can see, I have 3 more. And there's a reason for that. I am a cheap ass when it comes to drill bits. I would rather buy 20 sets of cheap drill bits than 1 set of good drill bits. But I've recently been converted. DeWalt has these new drill bits out now that you can get at Home Depot or Lowe's, and they work really, really, really well. They're a dual tip drill bit, and I don't have any here to show you because I keep them up at RPM, but they work really well and they're not that expensive either. So something else that you'll find yourself needing all the time is Torx bits, hex bits, and more Allen sockets here. So this is just a kit from Sears. It goes from T15 to T50, which is almost all you'll ever need. And then all your miscellaneous screwdriver bits and hex bits, standard and metric. And it even has some inverted Torx in here too. And you see inverted Torx on like drive shafts, some brake calipers, stuff like that. Next drawer, just miscellaneous junk. We got a few hammers, a stapler, and then our little digital dial caliper here. This is good for measuring anything. This dial caliper will measure up to 6 inches and is pretty accurate. Now that one's from AutoZone, so again, not terribly expensive, but it works. And then I've got a cheap brake line flaring kit here if I ever need to flare a line, and a cheap bender as well. And then of course, C-clamp for pushing in brake calipers. Next drawer is just more miscellaneous stuff, but something that's important. I have a 3/8 drive torque wrench and a 1/2 inch drive torque wrench. And I use the 1/2 inch more than anything around here just for torquing wheels. So if you guys don't torque your wheels after you do brakes or you put a new set of wheels on, you definitely need to. This is a very important tool for anyone that works from home. And then a buddy of mine gave me this cheap little code reader that's not worth a damn, so I wouldn't recommend one of those. And then we've just got our regular old digital volt ohm meter for diagnosing electrical stuff. So basically that's all that I keep at the house aside from big equipment for working on my own cars, and I help my buddies out with their 4-wheelers every once in a while, and I have everything here to be able to do that kind of stuff. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a good amount of money here. But what you'll find is if you have the tool at home and you don't have to go run and buy something every time you need it, it's cheaper to buy the stuff in kits. So you go to Sears and you buy the 300-piece socket set kit, and it's got everything that you'll ever need in it. Instead of going and buying a 9/16 socket, or you might need an 11/32 socket, you'll already have everything at home. As you can see up there, I've got another 118-piece kit up there that I've never opened, but it was on closeout at Sears for like 49 bucks. So I bought it. That way, if I ever need an extra wrench or I break one, I've got one here because I'm about an hour from Sears at this house. Get yourself some tools. Allen sockets are becoming more and more useful, and I definitely use swivel sockets a lot. Those are the 2 things that I would recommend you have. And if you do a lot of wrenching out in your garage, an electric impact is definitely helpful. They make electric ratchets now too, which I have at RPM, but they're a little bit more expensive. But if you don't have an air compressor, electric tools are definitely strong enough now to help you get the job done. And don't forget to torque your lug nuts. So I hope this gives you guys a little bit of an idea of what I keep at the house and what I think that you should have at the house to help you work on your projects. Now I do have bodywork tools and stuff like that, but I'll go over that at another time. This is just for your brake jobs and your valve cover gaskets, and if you need to change your carburetor, stuff like that, you'll have everything here that you need. So anyways, I'm gonna get inside and edit this video so that you guys can watch it on Friday, because I am about to go to Michigan for the Woodward Dream Cruise. So I hope you enjoy this video. If you have any questions, be sure that you comment below, and don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it. And if you don't already subscribe, you should probably click that subscribe button as well. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.